and welcome to episode 175 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I repeat, I am not your host, Howard Kravitz. Well, let me explain. Welcome to our new Tuesday shows. We're very happy you joined us tonight. My wonderful co-host on Thursday nights, that gentleman right there from Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, along with also Paul Howland once in a while and Kyle Roscoe once in a while, will be our new hosts of our Tuesday night shows. I'm just going to be sitting back, chilling. In fact, I got a beverage already right here. Just going to be chilling. That's right. I'm just going to be kicking it back and watching my buddy Pete Visco do the hosting tonight. And sometimes, of course, Kyle and Paul will also be hosting. So without further ado, let me present the host of episode 175 to take it away from Maryland, Pete Visco.
What's out? What's up, Howard? What's up, everybody? Me, I only have a water. I didn't want to be drunk, for the first official Tuesday night hosting gig. So I'll keep it clean tonight. And I'm sure Howard's drinking an O'Doul's or something, so he's really faking it. But
well, I can't exactly say what brand this is. But do you remember about 2 years ago there was some virus that came out that was?
I'm pretty sure anybody who's ever had a beer can tell what brand that is from behind. I don't think it's a mystery.
I got some limes over here.
I don't think it's a mystery. So, all right. Well, thank you. So I guess I'm the host for today. So here's what we want to do, just like we always do, and Howard always says. And I actually have a little thing when Paul and Kyle come on. I'm going to talk about why I think Howard is stepping back. But first of all, if you listen to this in podcast form, which I know I listen to a lot of mine in podcast form, please go. If you listen on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, any other, I like Overcast just for the heck of it, rate, subscribe, review, do everything you can. Also, we've put together a really great website. It's HHHRacingPodcast.com. Nothing too complicated. HHHRacingPodcast.com has tons of information, especially about the race day blog, which Howard is going to sort of talk into about right now. And it's actually been on quite a bit of fire lately. So I'll let Howard talk about that.
Yeah, listen, it's over $2.50 ROI, Pete. I've been touting it quite a bit. And I'm very proud of it. You've contributed also as well as Paul on occasion, but it's usually I write it. And yeah, we've had some great scores. We've had many pick fives too. Last week we had an ABC pick five hit. We had a pick five hit the week before that. We've had many nice scores. We absolutely crushed the Del Mar race we're going to talk about on turf with Gold Phoenix. So the race day blog is great. It comes out every Saturdays, late mornings through your email. It's very inexpensive. And it's only $4 every Saturday, and you can easily make that up in just one race. So highly recommend people check that out. Look below the video player. There's information there. Also, the great website that Pete Visco has a lot to do with, HHH Racing Podcast. They can find out how to sign up through Patreon. Thanks,
yeah, and real quick, if you're a little reticent or you just want to get some more information, if you go to our website, there's a race day blog page, and on there's an example of the blog itself and the past, I think 15 or so. That's what they allow to put us on there. There's like 15 of those, and then there's the stats of the day as well. So you could actually get a feel for what kind of information is included before you sign up. So definitely check that out.
Pete, I just want to say one more thing real quick, and
yeah, fire away.
What you don't know, and Kyle and Paul don't know, is tonight, for the first time ever, I'm playing a drinking game on the podcast. If one of the gentlemen that'll be coming on, not you, it's one of the other two people, if they say something that they say quite a bit, I'll be having a drink. So I'm not going to say who or what. But I guarantee this person will say that particular phrase or words.
Oh, see, I wish we knew, because then we would just get you hammered on this thing, and you'd be passed out halfway through.
You'll have to pay attention to when I take a beverage.
I already know what mine are, so I know what my little phrases are. So I know if you were doing those, I'd know how to make you drink. And one thing we didn't mention at the beginning. Oh, go ahead.
It'll either be Paul or Kyle. I don't want to mention it.
Paul just set one on text, so we'll see if that's one that actually counts. One thing we didn't mention, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We want to get as many subscribers as possible. We appreciate you watching, but we also want subscribers as well. Also, if you do subscribe, hit that little bell notification icon. If you hit that, you'll know every time we post a show, because we know every Tuesday and Thursday we're going to have a show, but we also have other shows as well. So you'll be in the know as to when they're coming. And then finally, smash that little like button that tells YouTube that you like the show, you enjoy us, and maybe not after Howard's drunken excursion tonight, but we'll see how it goes. But so I think we're good. So I guess you want to why don't we bring on our co-hosts for the night, and let's get this thing started. First, oh, there we go. We got them both quick. We got Paul Halloran from the Saratoga Special and the Crown, the Prince of the formerly known as Arlington, which is my nickname for him, Kyle Roscoe. Welcome, gentlemen. Oh, I see Kyle's having a beverage as well. Paul, got a beverage anywhere?
I got nothing.
Me neither. We're slacking, Paul. So I guess you two, we want to make sure that whatever you can think of that you say a lot, just keep saying it, because we want.
Yep, that's my plan.
I want Howard to fall out of his seat by the end of this show tonight. And then second, here's what I want to do. My thought, I don't want to see if you guys agree with it. My thought about why Howard's giving up hosting duties on Tuesday. I'm thinking of him as like a diva wide receiver in the NFL who's like, I just want more. I'm not getting enough catches, even though we're winning games. We're getting views. People are enjoying the pod. He's like, look, I need catches. I need more airtime. So he wants me to do all the administrative stuff so he could just sit back and blab about all his horse racing opinions. What do you think, Kyle? You agree with that?
Again, Howard's famous quote, no comment.
I know Paul will comment.
I think he's like Allen Iverson. Practice. He's not doing Tuesday's practice for Thursday.
Tuesday's practice. I like it. Hey, Howard, real quick, before we get on to the races themselves, you want to talk about Thursday's show that you lined up for us?
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the just actually on the scroll on the bottom there.
Yep.
I'm really excited about Thursday's show. We're going to cover Kentucky Downs, which guys a lot of people have been asking about. It's very difficult. I've had a lot of so we need some help with it. And fantastic guest and excellent handicapper. She's really popular on Twitter as well. Sarah El-Dabwi, from Horse Racing Nation will be here. Sarah is awesome. She does a lot of stuff with Ed DeRosa as well. A lot of people know Ed, but Sarah is excellent. Her opinions are fantastic. And I've got a little girl power we got to bring on the show Thursday night. So from Horse Racing Nation, she does a lot of other things as well. But Sarah El-Dabwi will be with us Thursday night.
That's awesome, and thanks for everybody who's in the chat. I see Nick Feldman; he's ready to go. He's excited for this one. Be keen in there, so keep commenting. Fire away at us, especially once we get to the races. If you have opinions, because there's some differing opinions on some of the things we're going to talk about, definitely fire away in the comments. So let's get into it. The first thing we want to talk about. So mostly what we're going to do on these Tuesday shows is mostly going to be a recap of the prior weekends. Most likely the big races, graded stakes, whatever, with the Breeders' Cup coming and Breeders' Cup winning you're in type races, which is where we're going to focus tonight. But we're also going to cover some other topics, whether they're just anything that happened over the weekend, anything that's in the news. So one thing, let me just set the stage quick. So I was at the movies with my son on Sunday. We were seeing Jaws in IMAX re-release. It was awesome, by the way. For anybody who gets a chance, it's only there this week. Stop laughing, Kyle. I'm not old enough to have seen it in the theater. Paul probably. I'm sure Paul might have been, but I didn't see it in the theater, so it was awesome. So I get off the movie's done, and I look at my phone, and I see this big text chain between the four of us going. And then I look on Twitter, and I see Howard firing back a bunch of texts. I see Paul firing out some tweets. And I'm like, what the hell are they even talking about? So apparently there was a controversial disqualification in the Saratoga 10th on Sunday. So Howard, do you have the replay of that race for us? So maybe we'll go through the replay. And Howard, since you were very vocal about it, I'll let you go first, and then we'll see what Paul thinks, because I think you and Paul have differing opinions. And then I don't remember Kyle's stance, but we'll get to his as well.
Your Honor, Judge Visco,
yes, sir.
And members of the jury, I will prove without a shadow of a doubt, very conclusively, with video and audio evidence, with expert opinion, that the number 2 Succulent should have come down, and it was the right decision. Your Honor, I have video and audio proof. May I begin, sir?
Please do. Please do.
Thank you
Present
very
your
much.
evidence. Present your
Thank
evidence,
you.
sir.
And I'm sure the people of Howard Kravitz will be extremely convincing in their argument. So the first thing, let's go ahead and bring up the replay. And I've got a few. I'm going to do this without sound at first. So hold on 1 second, please. So let's bring this up. So this is, of course, we're just going to show first, guys, this is the pan shot. This is the pan shot as it actually happened. This is Sunday, race 10. Again, the constituents, as it were, are going to be the number 2 Succulent, who actually right now is out here with Dylan Davis. The number 3 La Victoria, which is the gray right here, under Irad Ortiz, who, may I say, Your Honor, never does anything wrong. So I cannot
Right.
believe,
Yeah.
I cannot believe that people would even insinuate that he did anything wrong in this race.
Irad is not on trial today, sir.
I'm
Not
sorry.
fully.
I'm sorry. Strike that from the record. Excuse me.
Not fully.
And number 4, Cape Cod Causeway with Trevor McCarthy. So first, let's go ahead and show the race as it happened in full speed. And anyone can feel free to comment. If they repeat, if you want to comment on anything, feel free, of course.
Yeah, so you go ahead, Paul. Paul, were you watching this live, Paul?
I was.
And what'd you think? Did you have any opinion as the race was going, or was it only after they showed sort of the stewards replay?
No, it was actually after the race. Gary Stevens on the Fox broadcast was the first to bring up the fact that they might take a look. Because in real time, watching it live for the first time, you really didn't see much. And then Gary Stevens, pretty soon after they went across the wire, said they may be taking a look at this.
Yeah, I mean, from the initial view, it doesn't look like anything happens, but then you have to really look at the head on. I mean, you can't see much here. I mean, you can maybe see a little bit if you're looking for it, but if you're watching it live, you're probably not going to notice much of anything. I don't know about you, Howard. Were you watching this one live as well?
Yes, sir, because I had a pick 5 going. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's right.
And
That's right.
I also want to say, Your Honor, for the record, because there was very heated debate on Twitter, as I'll just show that. Now, I do have other things to show, Your Honor, but
Please do.
I want to mention that I did have the 2, 3, and 4 in my pick 5. So this was not prejudiced, sir. It didn't really matter. Well, if the 4 had won, that would have been best because of the price. But I didn't really care too much. I had a skin in the game, but it wouldn't have mattered to me who came down.
Yeah.
Now, you can't see much. Let's see the head on now. Okay. So everyone, give me one moment. I'm actually going to take this off the screen, and you can ask someone else a question while I set up the head on, Pete.
Yeah, Kyle, I don't know. Let's talk, Kyle, real quick. Did you have anything going on this race? Did you care one way or the other? Did you even pay attention to it, or did it just sort of come up once you saw sort of the back and forth? Uh-oh. Are you on mute?
Oh, maybe. Yep, there you go.
No, now you're back. Now
Rookie,
you're
rookie.
back. Man, he had one sip of Miller Lite and he forgot everything he's doing. Okay.
Yeah, it's the young person in me. But
fire away. What were you saying?
no, but I was just gonna say I didn't see it at all. I didn't have any skin. I was actually driving home from middle of nowhere, Wisconsin at that point, as you guys saw on the podcast on Saturday. I didn't watch it until I saw Paul and Howard going back and forth about it on Twitter. And I mean, like I said, from my first reaction, I thought it was a little nitpicky, but I'm waiting to hear.
Let's hear the evidence. Yes,
yep,
yes.
We
don't want to prejudice
Okay.
the jury just yet. Let's hear the evidence from.
Well, first we have
Howard.
to see the evidence. So this is the head on again, and let me go full screen for everyone. Succulent is right here. This is the horse that eventually comes down. Here's the 2. The 4, Cape Cod Causeway, angled out fairly, and is now clearly there's a hole there, right? We don't jurors, we would agree there is a hole there.
Yes.
So
yes,
now
we
there's
do.
a hole. Keep it playing.
Mhm.
Now there's
Yeah,
a
well,
hole. There's
Correct,
also a
there's a
hole
hole.
when the gate opens.
Excuse me, sir. This is my time, sir. You'll have a chance to be able to stand in just a moment. Just
Paul.
kidding, Paul. Paul, just kidding, Paul.
Don't let me
All
hold you in contempt, Paul.
Yeah,
Don't let me
exactly.
hold you in
Hey,
contempt.
who's in control of this damn courtroom? All right, anyway, so here's the hole, right? And here's IRAD. So I'm just going to let it play full speed. And then, Pete, I actually have one more version I want to show that's a slow-mo. So I'm just going to let this run through. And you guys feel free. Well, let me talk first. So right here, okay, they're going straight. Watch Succulent, the 2, in the orange cap come over. Clearly, he comes over and bumps the 4. I don't even think that's even for debate. Right there. He definitely bumped him. There's contact. And you can see it now. The 4 is like turned a little bit sideways, right? Your Honor, you can see that.
Yep. No, I agree. I'll let
Okay.
you know when I disagree.
Into the butt of Irad right here, who is clearly keeping a straight path. Now, here's where the issues really become tricky. Is people are saying that the 3 came in to the 4 and caused the issue. Irad keeps a straight path. The reason why
No, he doesn't.
Well,
No, he
not
doesn't.
there.
Hold on.
He
The
was
reason-
keeping a straight path. But go ahead.
The reason why that happened, in my opinion, Your Honor, and I have, like I said, I have witness expert testimony a moment, audio testimony. The reason why it looks like the 3 bowed the 4 is because the 4's butt was hitting into the 3, and the horse reacted. That wasn't Irad. Irad did not come out, in my opinion, and the opinion of others. Irad did not come out. The 3 reacted to being rubbed on by the 4, and therefore came out and made it look worse than it did. Now,
Hey, this is a family show, Howard. Watch with the rubbing and the butts. Keep it down a notch.
I'm sorry. Is Jackson watching? Jackson
No,
just
but
watched people
hey,
get
he
eaten
might
up
be.
in the ocean. What are we worried about rubbing butts?
Yeah, I
He
think
can
we're
handle it.
okay. I think
Okay.
we're good.
I'm going to show one more time just for people to, and then I'll show a little bit of a slow mo. So here it is one more time. And again, sorry, it's not. It'll start in a second. Okay, so here it is again. I'll go full screen again here. And this is nothing happens here obviously yet. Here comes Cape Cod Causeway, and the problem is, again, I think you need to focus on the 3. There's clearly contact. Irad is keeping a straight path. Right there, the butt of the 4 is forcing in the 3 to make it look like he's causing the action. That's my opinion. I'll just show one more, if I may, and then I have an audio that I want to show, if you guys don't mind here. Hold
Don't
on.
forget, this is a 60-minute show, so we don't need
This
to
is the
spend
end
it
of
all
This is a
on your
slow-
evidence
they're gonna
here.
slow
Yeah,
it-
who cares about Flightline?
they're
Yeah,
gonna
we don't
slow-
want to
right
talk
here,
about
they're
the
slowing
greatest
down
horse of
here.
all time. Yeah, we'll just worry about this.
I don't think the 3 is reacting to the 4, bothering him, in my opinion. So Pete, whenever you're ready, I do have one more clip I want to show. That's an audio.
Go ahead.
clip.
You do your clip, and then I'm going to let Paul jump in and give his take because I
All right.
know
don't
his
understand
difference.
I don't understand why the young Kyle Roscoe is laughing. I don't quite get it over there, but anyway, that's okay. I'll let him keep laughing.
I told you he
So-
had like 3 sips of beer, so he's just giddy right now. So
All right.
we're gonna see.
So
I'm
now
just
what
having
I'm
fun
gonna
listening to
do-
the evidence.
This is the last thing, and I'll shut up about it. I'm going to bring up, this is an audio. Everyone you guys and everyone at home, ignore the video. Okay, this is a voiceover. This is Richard Migliore, highly respected, right? One of the best riders ever. In fact, Paul would even agree. Even Paul would agree. One of the best riders ever in the history of New York racing, or anywhere for that matter. An excellent commentator. This is what Richard Migliore said yesterday when they were talking about the incident on Sunday. It's about a 40-second clip. Again, everyone ignore the video. The video has nothing to do with it. Purely listen to the audio. I'll put the sound down. This is Richard Migliore talking about the DQ from Sunday. Here we go.
Dylan Davis, Richie, you agreed with the decision yesterday for Dylan Davis, who was disqualified on Succulent. Why?
He's the Dylan on Succulent initiated the contact. The horse in between with Trevor McCarthy, Cape Cod Cutie, what's the name?
Cape Cod Causeway.
Yeah, well, the horse that Trevor was on, and he initiated the contact coming in, leaning into her, and in effect, then she leaned into the inside horse, touched her hip, and turned that horse out. So anybody who thought that Irad Ortiz on the horse that wound up getting elevated to first was coming out, he got forced out by getting hit in the hip and turning his shoulder out. So I think that they made the right call. As difficult a decision it was, and it's a shame because the best horse won, but
I exclude that
Your
evidence.
Honor,
I exclude that evidence as
People of
prejudicial.
Howard Kravitz
Yeah.
arrest.
Paul,
Yeah,
Paul, what's your
yeah.
rebuttal? Let me just hear your
My-
rebuttal, Paul.
My question would be, and I love Mig, but Mr. Migliore, do you have any familiar relationships with the jockey who allegedly got aggrieved, the 4? Is your son the jockey agent for Trevor McCarthy, who was on the 4?
Ooh.
Does that have anything to do with your opinion on this? Now, by the way, and I think,
conspiracy not related.
well, it's very much
I'll
related.
allow
His
it.
son
I'll,
is the
I'll
jockey
allow
agent.
it. I'll
Now,
allow it, Paul.
I would, and again, I think Mig is a tremendous guy and a straight shooter, but shouldn't that have been mentioned at the time? And they always mention family stuff, and Maggie and Tom and Acacia and Miguel. Look, Mig knows more about this than I do, obviously, but this is my number one bone of contention. If it were 2 horses involved, and you want to just simply put the 4 ahead of the 2, we can talk. I hate it when a horse who was never going to win the race, the 3, gets put up. That is screwing the bettors. You can argue the 4 was going to win the race. The 2 did win the race. In a million years, the way that stretch was won, the 3 was not winning that race. Yet we're going to reward those who bet the 3 and screw those who bet the 2 and take them down. That's what I don't like.
I do agree with Paul on that. I
Yep.
do agree with him on that.
The bettors, no one in that steward stand ever says, okay, how does this affect the big picture? And I'll tell you another thing I don't like. And I believe this with sports too. If you can't make a decision in 3 minutes, 5 maybe max, we got no change. That was up for about, what, Howard, 10, 12 minutes for an allowance race at Aqueduct at Saratoga. Now you want to say, well, the Kentucky Derby was up for 32 minutes with maximum security. All right, it's the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But if you can't adjudicate the 10th race at Saratoga in 5 minutes or 3 minutes, we got no change.
I will say one other thing that Paul said on Twitter, which I think was absolutely 100% correct, and I'd love to hear Kyle's opinion. Paul mentioned this, and it's absolutely true. Harness racing tried to do this for a little bit and stopped. Harness racing, a few tracks, actually had the stewards come on camera and talk through their decision. A few tracks did that, including Maywood Park, not too far from me. Horse racing should do that. They should make these guys go on air, or at least put out a statement immediately, explaining to the public what they're seeing, because people who are uneducated on the different classifications don't have any freaking clue of what the stewards are even looking at all. And Paul is exactly right. They need to be more transparent with why they're DQing, because all these bettors just feel like they're getting screwed.
How would we do it in this country? There are tracks that the announcer will walk you through the replay.
I want to hear from the stewards, Paul.
Now the steward, well, and you know what they do in the Middle East? I think either Europe. I think I've seen it in Dubai. The stewards, the jockeys, instead of getting on the phone, they parade them right up to the steward's room immediately, and there's a camera in there. There is a camera in the room. Okay,
yeah.
So, and the steward stand at Saratoga sits right over the finish. It's not hard to get to. Everyone knows where it is. It's right adjacent to the turf terrace. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, Howard. Above all, right or wrong, that guy who bet the 2, and I'm like you, how I did not have the 4. I did have the 2 and 3, and there was not thousands of dollars at stake in this particular photo, like there was in the aforementioned Kentucky Derby photo for yours truly, not the right way. But let's give that guy at least an explanation. He's still not going to like it, but this is what we saw. This is why we did it. And the last thing on it, I wish there was some context on, hey, folks, how's it look if we put up Irad Ortiz in a 50-50 or 60-40 call here when we let him get away with goddamn murder throughout the year? And I love Irad. He's great to deal with. He won 5 races at Colonial Downs today, by the way. But
really? Wow.
5 races, including the Oaks and the
Both
Derby.
stakes, yeah.
Okay. But really, we're going to give him now, do you think if Irad was on the 4 and Dylan Davis if it was the other way around, do you think Dylan Davis gets put up over Irad? I think not.
Well, I say we move on because we don't want to waste too much time on this. But I actually didn't think the bump was even as bad, though. I've seen worse bumps not get taken down. So I wasn't 100% sure the bump even warranted a takedown. But again, I had no skin in the game at all. It is what it is. I think the stewards, we always want the stewards to be more transparent. It doesn't look like they're going to be anytime soon. So I think we're just going to keep having these disagreements and arguments, unfortunately. And it sucks for the game because there's no consistency. And I think that's all we would really want is consistency.
We don't get to hear from Kyle on the issue?
Kyle, what do you think? Go ahead.
I mean, I put it at the beginning, but
He said it. Yeah, he said his
that
piece.
it did look a little nitpicky just from my first reaction.
I'm waiting to hear a phrase. I still don't hear it. Go ahead. Whatever.
No, I get it, but should I just make Howard drink? Because I think Paul's 100% correct.
There we go. Just keep.
There we go. All right, let's go.
There it is.
How good am I?
Like I said, I thought it was just nitpicky, but going through what Howard's talking about, I mean, it could swing either way, but I do agree that the transparency issue is something that really could be addressed and could be brought up in this game because, like Howard said, it's always about the people that kind of don't know what they're doing. Like, I mean, like baseball, with baseball replays, you kind of understand what they're looking at, but the new people going to the track at horse racing, they don't know. They obviously they see the horses
experienced
bumping,
people don't seem to know what the rules are enough to know what constant. I mean, you see the argument back. I mean, Paul and Howard are two lifelong horse racing people, and they see it differently. So again, the rules. I know it's a gray area, but the rules don't really help you in that way. So let's move on. So we're going to get away from this because we want to get to the positives of horse racing for once. So now we're going to go to, and Howard, you can cue this up, and we'll go through the video first, and we're going to look at the Del Mar 10th, the Pacific Classic. We all know who won. It was a Breeders' Cup Classic, winning your in race. Flightline, one of the most impressive performances probably any of us have seen in horse racing. So we're going to look at it here. I mean, just looking at the chart. Kyle, let's go to you first. What was your thought of Flightline as you were watching the race and maybe the trip that he got? And we're going to walk through. Why don't you walk us through once they sort of go? So what was your initial thought as sort of they come out of the gate? And then what did you think at that point?
I mean, like I said on Saturday, being into the game, really into the game for 7 years, this was the most electrifying performance I've ever seen. And like I said, I've only been in the game, obviously
100%.
6 or 7 years, but this is the most electrifying performance I've ever seen in horse racing. Obviously, I wasn't around for the Belmont at Secretariat. I wasn't around for any of that, but just unbelievable. I was sitting there watching, I mean, with me, who's, really into the game. And then I had my girlfriend sitting next to me, dragging her along, watching this race. And she just got into it and she started dating me. So, but
nice.
She looked at this. She couldn't believe. She looked at me, and with her mouth was gaping open. It was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. And
That's
going
awesome.
through the race here, I mean, looking at the inside, Flavian just looks to his left, sees to his left, and just bids him a good afternoon. It's not even a.
Let me ask a question, Howard. Why don't you tackle this one quick? When you saw Flightline sort of break on the outside, and he had to work, maybe work a little harder than you would maybe expect for him to get the lead. Did you have any thoughts at that point? So before we get to this, where at this point the race is over, did you have any thoughts about his trip at early stages, or did you just think, hey, he can get over whenever he wants?
I mean, 97%. I mean, I thought he was going to I actually thought the 6 was going to be pushing him early. Paul and I talked about this on our live show, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, has over 3,000 views. I don't know if people have noticed, but thank you very much for your support of our live show. We had a lot of fun with Paul and myself on Saturday. We thought the 6 would push. I was a little surprised, but he wasn't really keen. You know what I mean? Like, he just took over the lead just naturally. That's the scary thing about this horse is he's learning how to rate, and he just, I don't listen. When you have a speed horse, Pete, you go. We talked about
you
this.
go. Yeah.
Why keep wrangling the horse? Pratt's like, I have a ton of horse. I'll just go ahead. So right here, I mean, I didn't think he was going to lose, but we just don't see too often horses open up like this and keep that kind of lead. So when I said on the show to Paul, and he was absolutely correct, when I said Country Grammar has no excuses from here, and Paul accurately said he's up by 8, I felt foolish. But usually when you see this horse have a kind of lead, Pete, you see a horse like back up a little bit. This horse increased his lead. I mean,
yeah, I guess the only thought would be, though, generally when you see one of these horses who does this and gets up by that big lead, they're not the best horse in the race. Usually it's usually a horse that's trying to just steal it. And this one, you didn't think he was stealing it. You thought he was just sort of doing what he does. Paul, what were your thoughts when he sort of started stretching out? And at this point, was it just like, oh my God, look at this horse, he's a monster? Because you've had some skepticism about how they've campaigned him, not necessarily the horse. What were your thoughts during the race and then immediately after?
Yeah, I thought he was getting a great trip from the get-go. I mean, it was a short field, and Pratt obviously was just going to keep him in the clear the whole way. And I think being outside, makes that even easier to do. And once he went by, I was just watching Country Grammar because I was looking for Country Grammar to pull an upset. And once he accelerated on the turn, it was clearly over. Then it became a matter of how much. Now, I certainly wasn't expecting 19 and a half. And as Howard and I were talking on the live show, 159 and 1. I think about a tenth of a tenth of a second off the track record. The one thing people have talked about the Candy Ride Pacific Classic. And this was more dominant. However, I think more recently, and it came up this year because she went into the Hall of Fame, the Beholder Pacific Classic, when she basically did this against the boys back in 2015. This reminded me of that. Of course, this was that on steroids. But that far turn move, and Pratt was looking around. I think he looked under his legs at one point. And hey, look, it's and one of the reasons it upsets me he hasn't raced more is the average person who doesn't follow racing. And again, this is no disrespect. People think I'm picking on Rich Strike. I'm not. But the average person who doesn't follow racing knows who Rich Strike is and doesn't know who Flightline is.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'm not assuming that this led Sports Center in any ways, or even was on the bottom of the ticker like the Derby or the Triple Crown races, or even the
Pete.
Oh yeah, this Nick.
And if he wins the Classic, the Classic gets on.
That'll get some publicity. Yes,
but and then you know what it's going to be. It was his last race,
and then he's gone. Yeah, so that's no good. Yeah, I thought that was you, Nick, where he said the Beholder race and the Flightline race and sort of watch them together. And it was just sort of fun. I wonder if someone has that, or if you can do that, or if someone can do that on YouTube, maybe drop it in the chat so everybody can sort of take a look at them going head to head. But yeah, I mean,
it was great. It was a great performance. Command performance.
Go ahead, Howard.
Flightline beats Beholder by 6.
Oh, sure. But it still could have been fun just watching. I mean, just because hers was a recent, unexpected super move, blow away sort of Pacific Classic. So I guess from that perspective, it sort of parallels in that way. So I want to go to a quick topic on Twitter, which can be quite hyperbolic at times. There was a lot of talk about the GOAT conversation with Flightline after that race. So Howard, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts? Not necessarily whether he's the GOAT or not. I mean, it's really hard to compare those things, but what's your initial thought anyway in trying to make those comparisons?
Look, I love Flightline. Flightline is unbelievable. Complete freak. I have nothing negative. I love this horse. Best of all time? Please. Everyone calm the F down. If you want to be best of all time, it can't be just the clock, right? It can't, for me, it can't be just the clock. It can't be buyers. And I brought up what I feel is a very cogent argument on Twitter. If the big, yourself, Pete, you're one of them, so I'll let you should comment on this. All the big Zenyatta lovers, and I love Zenyatta too, but people think Zenyatta is like one of the best of all time. Zenyatta did not run crazy fast buyers, and also, in general, ran against what I believe is semi-mediocre competition for about 2/3 of her races. So I think you have to combine speed figures with who they're facing and with what they've accomplished. If Flightline wins the Breeders' Cup and runs off the charts, I'm prepared to say he's maybe one of the top 5 horses in the history of our game. To say it right now, to me, it's just not fair because he hasn't accomplished enough. It's not that he's not fast enough. I mean, obviously he's fast enough, but you have to accomplish more for me to be considered the GOAT. That's just my opinion, guys.
Yeah, I think.
Does anyone know?
Ahead,
this is
Paul.
a good question for Kyle because he may have looked it up or not. Kyle, if you looked it up or you happen to know, hats off to you. But if you didn't, make an educated guess on how many times Secretariat ran in his 2- and 3-year-old years combined.
I don't know that question. I'm pretending I didn't see that. I actually didn't see it. 4 5?
Can I guess?
21.
Oh, you
I was
did
gonna
run
say-
that?
I was
Okay.
gonna say about
yeah.
16. That was
I
a
was gonna say
guess.
it's more than that.
21. Now, again, Howard, you do make, unlike your point on the disqualification, you do make a cogent point on Twitter every once in a while. But no, and again, that is not a knock on the horse, and it maybe even not a knock on the connections, but if you go, and I just reread it recently, so just if you reread the Secretariat book, and I'm looking forward to I invite you all. We should all have a show reunion, Howard, at the 50th anniversary of Secretariat next June at Belmont Park. I'll be there, Howard. And know any place we could eat the night before, Howard?
I got some ideas.
So again, Pete, you're right. But the clock is, the clock is certainly a mitigating factor. And this horse ran a sub 2-minute mile and a quarter. We don't, we don't see that a lot, including on the first Saturday in May. So hey, look, he's a generational talent. Ghost Zappa had a 126. I think no one seems to talk about him too much, but he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. I believe he did, Howard, put up a 126 along the way.
128, Paul.
128. So,
yeah.
Again, the tendency is, we're a nation of instant gratification. So whatever we saw today has to be the best of all time. And I'm getting tired of the term GOAT. And I'm a New England guy. I think people started using it more commonly with Tom Brady, who is, by the way. But let's just enjoy the show. Costa Hronis, God love him, is talking about running the horse at age 5 next year. I think Lane's End has something to say about that. I don't think it happens. Howard seems like he's a little skeptical on that, right? It's interesting, Howard, and all you guys. Jane Lyon bred the horse. Okay, the horse sold for $1 million. Did you see what happened with the half brother?
Yeah, she kept him.
She had a horse by Curlin, my beloved Curlin, Howard. I was hoping you might be going to bid on him for me at this upcoming sale. Okay.
Now that I have to have a beverage for.
That's a big beverage. That's a lot of beverages.
Well, listen, Paul, I did text yesterday. I texted Matt Cutaire of Adelphi Racing Club, and I said, listen, I think I've got about 70 million of pocket change in my car that we can maybe, call Terry Finley of West Point and see what we can do. I don't know, maybe.
By the way, so the horse is a half, out of feathered, the same. The horse Curlin, by Curlin out of feathered, was entered in the Keeneland sales, which starts next week, and she pulled him, obviously, thinking she got a good deal with him. And she, by the way, kept a piece of Flightline. God love her. But what would that horse have sold for coming off of this performance? I think it would have been a $10 million horse at that sale.
Oh, I could see that.
Oh, I can't bring up.
You can't link back, yeah. Actually, I have one more.
You're right.
I mean, unless anybody has any other thoughts on Flightline, I think everybody thinks he's amazing. And I think we're going to see now, let's wait till the Breeders' Cup. We had the pool, he ended the pool as a pretty big favorite, which especially because of the fact that it's a lose your bet if it doesn't run kind of bet. So, you never get super, super low. I think he's
What do you go, 4 to 5?
Yeah.
I think so, right? Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And,
so
and I
crazy.
think he'll go off odds on. I think he will be under
100%.
1-1 in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Can I say something, guys? I know someone who has made a very, very large bet on Life is Good in the Breeders' Cup Classic future pool.
What'd they get, Howard?
8 to 1.
8 to 1, right? I think you said that.
I got 10 to 1.
And there's,
you did, Kyle?
honestly,
You did, Kyle? Nice.
I got 10 to 1.
Obviously, part of that thinking is maybe Flightline won't end up going. I mean, just because it's Flightline. So there's some of that, obviously, in that wagering. Thought.
Yeah, of course. One quick thing, Howard. I don't know if you want to bring up the chart. I mean, we want to move to the next race, but any other thoughts on the rest of the horses now, or is it sort of moot? Like Country Grammar going into the Breeders' Cup Classic potentially, or whatever he does in between. Do we care? Do we, is it even a thought now of who cares? Are we just running for second here and seeing who we can put underneath Flightline when we get there? What do you think, Paul?
No, I think it's about the horses who haven't run against him. So I think you're looking at Epicenter, Olympiad. Again, not to say they're going to beat him, but Country Grammar won the Dubai Gold World Cup and just lost by 25 lengths, 20 lengths. So I don't think anyone out in California is part of the discussion at all. I think it's going to be about Life is Good, Epicenter, and Olympiad. And did anyone catch Bill Mott's quote, by the way? And Bill Mott's a pretty straightforward guy, doesn't say a whole lot. I think it was Tim Wilkin, the great Tim Wilkin, formerly of the Albany Times Union, now of the Blood Horse, covers Saratoga, probably better than anyone, to be honest with you. And Tim went around Sunday morning and talked to a few of the trainers at Saratoga. Hey, what do you think about having to face this monster in the Breeders' Cup Classic? And Bill Mott's quote was kind of cute. He said, well, as far as I know, there's usually more than one horse that runs in that race. So
that's about right. Now, the check's pretty good for second too.
What's it? Six? Is it a $6 million race? I think.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's actually a good segue in. The next one we'll sort of queue up, since we'll stick with the Breeders' Cup Classic theme. The Saratoga 11th, the Jockey Club Gold Cup, the aforementioned Olympiad, who
good
looked,
performance.
He was a good performance. I mean, let's talk about it. Not related first to Flightline, then we'll just talk about if it means he has any shot, or if it's, again, is he just running for second. But I know Howard, going in, I think you always sort of still had hopes for American Revolution. I know, Paul, you were riding Olympiad based on last week's show, your comments at the end. So I don't know, do you want to, let's let you talk first, since you were sort of on Olympiad. What did you think about the performance? Did you think it was impressive, or did you just think he beat maybe not the greatest field in the world it came down to? What do you think?
Well, again, we don't want to get into comparison, but it was as good a field as Flightline beat. Now, he didn't beat it by 25 lengths, but this was a good field. First Captain's a real horse. American Revolution might not be quite as good as Howard and I were hoping for him to be, but it's still a very good horse. And, in his day, Tax was a pretty good horse. His day has passed. But no, I thought this was, as I said on the show last week, if you draw a line through the Whitney, and it was the hottest day of the year there, I was there. It was absolutely impressive. If you could just say maybe the horse just didn't want to run in 102-degree heat index, then he's won, I think it's 7 in a row, or 6 out of 7, or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a much more workmanlike performance. Junior Alvarado here is getting into him. American Revolution's getting Howard's hopes up just a little here. But yeah, this was, if Flightline hadn't run that night, people would be talking about this as a performance that stamps him as a Breeders' Cup Classic win contender.
Yeah, at least a contender. Kyle, what are your thoughts about that race?
I think Paul hit it right on the head. I think, the field is about what?
More Kyle, less Howard.
No, I think Howard's mad that I'm not saying the words.
There. Yeah, he wanted 100%.
I'm not saying the words. But I just, like I said, I agree with the field thing. I think that Olympia beat just as good as a field as Flightline did. Granted, again, not by the same length, but it is what it is. I love that Olympiad got back to his winning ways. And he's 100% a win candidate. As long as, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how the pace develops. Like I said, we saw that Flightline can rate a little bit, obviously the Pacific Classic, but I still think Olympiad has the ability to take a step forward off of this race again and be a contender along with Life is Good, as with Flightline in that race.
Howard, sorry, Kyle.
No, you're good. I was just going to say,
bring up the buyer too, maybe while Kyle's talking, because Kyle, you think he can? I mean, he'll need to take what do you get, about a 105 here, right?
Yeah.
So he's topped off at like 111. Where do you think he would need? He'd need a step forward, even off that 111 buyer top, most likely, right? You think so?
Yeah, I would 100% say. I think the winner. Granted, obviously, no one's going to reach the Flightline monster run of 126, I think is what he got. But I think, it's 114, 115 is going to be in that realm. And I think, like I said, it's all going to come down to the trip, I think, of who gets the best trip out of Olympiad, Life is Good, and Flightline, because I think they're all really good contenders to win that race.
Yeah, no, I agree. Howard, do you have anything else out of the horses, either Olympiad or any of the horses behind them for maybe the Classic or even some of the races in between? But I mean, we really like to start talking about Breeders' Cup at this point, I think.
Well, just let me just comment on American Revolution. Guys, maybe I'm being stubborn. That's not the trip he wants. This is a horse that wants to be further back and make a bigger run. Maybe he's not as good. I actually like First Captain's effort quite a bit. In fact, maybe even more than American Revolution. Here's my thought for the Breeders' Cup Classic 2 months out. I'll take 20 seconds, Pete.
Yeah.
If someone's going to beat Flightline to me, it's going to be a deep closer, like a Keen Ice kind of situation, because you have to figure, this is assuming life is good as in the race, right? I don't see like a horse close up to what I think will be a very fast pace winning. I think if something bizarre happens in that race and Flightline doesn't win, it's going to be like a deep closer. Like, I mean, pick whoever, like a First Captain or even maybe American Revolution or like even Epicenter, who I love. Like, I don't. He's never seen a pace like he was going to see in the Breeders' Cup. That's the problem. So to me, if something bizarre happens in the Breeders' Cup, it's going to be with a deep closer. That's just my initial.
No, I agree, and I think sometimes we see when you see a hot pace too, it's usually by maybe lesser horses. It's usually not the top horse. The top two horses in the race are generally not the ones setting some suicidal pace, like unlike like the Derby maybe, where I think if life is good in Flightline, I think one of them, Flightline, could maybe just sit off and then sort of attack them on the turn or attack them even before the turn, sort of like he did. And then we see if they hook up. And if for some reason they can't, life is good, we already have questions and about his distance limitations. So I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a long ways away. Hopefully everyone makes it. I mean, I think that's what we all want at this point. We want Flightline. We want Life is Good. We want Olympiad. We want Epicenter. And I think those four would make it one of the more marquee Breeders' Cup Classics we've had in a while, I think.
One of the best that I've ever seen, for sure.
All right, let's move on. We don't have a ton of time left. We probably don't need to talk too much about these next two. The next one, the Saratoga 10th, Howard, the Flower Bowl, won by Virginia Joy. This is a Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf winning you're in. What do we laugh
Forrest
at
Gump.
here?
We know why, Paul. I'm going to let
Who's
Paul
going to
have,
take
like,
this one?
entire...
Paul, you want this one?
Well, yeah, again,
well, let's wait
can...
for the real quick for the viewers. I assume everyone watched the race, but let's look at the chart real quick, and then we'll get into your thoughts, Paul. So basically, no. So we have a huge favorite, Warlike Goddess.
Click on Warlike Goddess, Pete, so we see her PPs.
Yeah, go ahead, Howard. Click on those, please.
Okay.
All right, Paul. Now go ahead. What are your thoughts?
My point is this. Joel Rosario is a great jockey. Okay. He did not give Epicenter a great ride in the Preakness. He did not give Warlike Goddess a good ride in this race. He rode this race overconfidently with a real horse. This is not, Pete, one of those horses we're talking about who's just a cheap horse.
Is this the slow motion replay? Oh, no, this is the actual replay. My bad.
Right. But now, again, look at this. Howard, what would you say? The 6 right now is 6 lengths off of the 3. Okay. Now, it's easy on Tuesday night, but he's not making up 6 lengths. This is a good horse, Virginia Joy. This is a real racehorse. Okay.
Who has won these who has won races on the front
end. And that's
end.
my point.
Yes.
Warlike Goddess is coming off, I think, was it the grade 2 Glens Falls last race, I believe?
Look at these sectionals, Paul. Look at the first quarter by Warlike Goddess.
27. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
We've seen harness horses go.
I was going to say that's
not a joke.
No. Right. But that's my point, Howard. In the Glens Falls, which was the race before, you could see Rosario never asked the horse at all, didn't have to, but he wasn't. Every race is different, and because he did it that easily in the Glens Falls, doesn't mean he's going to do it that easily in this race. And again,
Paul, can I interrupt you a second, Paul, real quick, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
I think his biggest mistake is right here, and people are going to say, "What are you talking about, Paul? Why the F in the world would you go to the inside with this horse at any particular time? This horse could win 4 wide all the way around the track." He put himself in a difficult situation, Paul, because he decided to save ground. I don't know why he would feel the need to save ground, but once he's in this position, Paul, in my opinion, now he's got like nowhere to go. So even if he wants to move early, he's right here. What is he doing? You don't do this on a 1 to 5 shot.
Again,
For
there's a theory, the theory on 3-turn races, right? You save ground on
I
the
know.
first 2. But Howard, I'm going to tell you why I think he stayed in on the. You're
Okay.
referring to the 5-turn, because he was so far behind that I don't think he thought he could lose much more ground.
Well, that's.
Oh, no, he
I
is on
didn't
the
really
outside.
guess.
He's on the outside here. But
No, he's on the rail, Paul. He's the 4.
Yeah.
He's the 4, Paul.
He's the
Oh, yeah,
4, not
correct.
the 6. Yep.
But
That's okay.
the point people are going to look at this and say, well, Paul, what are you talking about? He's only 3 lengths behind. He's 3 lengths behind a horse who just went 1:19.2 for 3/4. Okay. They canter faster than that on the Oklahoma training track in the morning. All right. So it's not that it's how far behind you are, but into what you're trying to close. And look at the hands. I think this is Irad on the 3.
Mhm.
Just look at him now. He's going to start to ask him. He's sitting on a ton of horse. The 5 is a hopeless long shot. He's no threat. And now Walleye Goddess at this point is 5 lengths behind with 1/8 of a mile to go. He's not catching him. Okay. He's going to almost catch him, but he's not catching him. Okay. This was a bad ride by a great rider. Okay. And you're not going to get away with that with Chad Brown having, all-star jockeys and multiple horses in the race. So that's what I think. Walleye Goddess got a questionable ride in the Breeders' Cup. I think she was put onto the lead a little too soon. I think I'm thinking of the right horse, right? That was by Leperoux. She hit the lead and then ironically got caught by Irad, the horse she was trying to catch this day. Look, the horse is very bettable the next time. Rosario, I'll say this for Rosario, Howard. I spoke to Christophe Clement the day before the Sword Dancer, 6:15 a.m. I reported for duty bright and early to watch Pete's friend Gufo train. And Christophe, and I quoted him in my preview saying this, Joel needs to help me, because he said he was just too far behind in the United Nations. He needs to have him closer. What did Joel do in the Sword Dancer? He had him 6 lengths behind, not 17 lengths behind. This horse cannot be that far behind. It's a very similar situation to Gufo, in my opinion.
Yep. Kyle, we're real quick. We'll get a couple more points on this. So there was talk, and I think Nick mentioned it in the comments as well. There was talk about trying to decide with Warlike Goddess whether she should go in the Breeders' Cup turf or in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. I see Howard shaking his head. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, I think the idea was she would like as much distance as possible. So let's put her potentially in the turf. Any thoughts? And we'll get to Howard next on that quickly.
I mean, I do get the argument that she does want more distance, but I mean, I don't know why is she going to the turf. I mean, it's just, I see Howard. I see him in the corner.
It's 100% loss.
Yep, I know. I just don't see the reason why you have 100% win percentage basically in the filly and mare turf at this point. But I get
I don't agree with that.
Well, I know, but I'm just
you don't know who's coming over.
I think he was just doing that for Howard.
I was just doing that for Howard.
There might be a long line at the gates at the European airports to get over for these turf races.
But barring any European, I mean, she's the best American horse right now for the filly and mare turf, in my opinion. And I mean, Greg, again, barring any Euros that come over here, I mean, she's the best chance that America has to win this race. And I think she's so much better suited for the filly and mare turf. Granted, I get it, the distance, but I just don't see the reason to put her in the turf.
Howard,
it's 5/8. It's 5/8 of a mile less distance at Keeneland.
Yeah,
that's a lot of less distance for this horse.
Howard, do you have any quick thoughts on that before we move on?
Saying that Warlike Goddess is the best American female turf horse is like saying I'm the best old fat guy to win the old fat guy marathon. Warlike Goddess, to me, would be a complete bet against in the filly and mare turf too.
Well,
who has she faced this year at all? I mean, she's faced nobody. I mean, I like Warlike Goddess in general. Any decent Euro mare is gonna win. It's part of the reason. Now she did run well last year. I'll give her that. I'm not sure she's as good as she was last year, and she should definitely not even consider going to the turf against the boys. Are you kidding me? I mean, any good Euro
And
would
actually, if
absolutely
you
destroy
look at
Warlike Goddess. In terms of the distance, Pete, real quick, it's a mile and 3/16 versus a mile and 3/8, like Paul said. It's a big difference. Warlike
A mile
Goddess,
and a half. It's
excuse
a
me,
mile and a half. It's 5/8 of a mile. It's a
Warlike Goddess can run fine going a mile and 3/16. How about someone putting her in the game a little bit? She's got a great closing kick. I think Warlike Goddess will go to the Philly Turf and run a great fourth.
And right now, if
Have a nice
I'm looking
evening,
at odds checker, she's about 14-1 right now. So it's
I
not
think
like
that's about right.
that's
I
about
think
right
that's
because there's
right.
a
We have to see
and
who
the
comes
top
over. Obviously,
the top
Obviously, we gotta see
five
who comes over.
the top five odds wise are basically European. So we'll see if they come over, and then there's some others. But the last thing on that race actually, do we think Virginia Joy anything, or she just was the beneficiary of just a crawling pace and a bad ride by Rosario? We all agree on that. No, nothing major where. Like, I'm not looking at her as like, hey, I'm going to definitely bet her next time out. But yes, agree, Howard.
She's a nice horse who will run in the whatever the prep at Belmont at Aqueduct meet or whatever it's called.
Or maybe Keeneland. She may go to.
Yeah, she might go to Keeneland. I don't know if they have a long. I don't think they have a. I have to look at. I don't think they have like a 3-turn Breeders' Cup prep for the fillies and mares. I think they only have the mile. But anyway, she's a nice horse. But I mean, if we're talking Breeders' Cup, Pete, I mean, forget it.
No, agree. I just wanted to. I didn't want to shortchange her. Yeah. No, I agree. All right, let's hit the last Breeders' Cup. We're running out of time here. Let's hit the last Breeders' Cup Terp. Winning you're in this one, the Del Mar 11th, the Del Mar Handicap. And this is a horse that, I know we liked on the show, Howard, myself, you, Brady, I think, correct? I think the three of us liked on the show, Gold Phoenix. So we'll hit this one. We'll hit this one quick. I don't know, Howard, what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the race overall? Did you just think it was, hey, it was sort of this was one of those fields. It was a little light, maybe. I mean, it was good horses, but it wasn't anything, it's not anybody that jumps out. And I think Gold Phoenix was one that had some upside. And I think that's why we sort of liked him. So is that where you sort of landed even after the race?
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, the West Coast distance horses have not been good for a long time, ever since. Actually, United is probably the best long distance turf. He was a nice horse. He actually almost won the damn Breeders' Cup. So other than United, I can't think of a real nice West Coast based distance turf horse we've had in a long time. This was a fairly weak field, but it seemed right for the picking. Everything just worked out. This ride by Pratt, which we'll just show right now. I mean, I'll let other people talk because that's the whole point of me not being the host. I don't want to talk too much, but I mean, I thought he was a little bit further back than I expected, but the timing, he's on the 2 here. I'll let someone speak. The timing and the split was just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle, did you have interest in this race, or were you just sort of watching it after the fact?
No, this is a watch after the fact for me as well, but just because I got kicked out in the earlier legs, but I mean, it's another just masterful ride by Pratt, closing into a pretty darn slow pace as well. Granted, not as slow, but again, just tips him outside, and just blows by everybody basically without a step. So it's just
about the blow by. He won by an inch, but I understand what you're saying.
Blows by, yeah. But I think Masterpiece ran the race that you would expect. Came from off the pace, ran a nice race.
Well.
Right, Paul? What do you think?
Yeah, he was I liked it too as well. The 9 was actually my top pick, and he looked like he could be a winner. But to talk about the pace versus the race we just watched, the 6 furlong time in that race was 5.5 seconds faster than
crazy.
The race at Saratoga. Let me repeat that. The 6 furlong time was 5.5 seconds faster. And that was not a fast pace. That was 1:13 and change. That was, for the West Coast, it was especially not a fast pace. But this is why, and we had the Big A on, and we love the Big A, and the Big A looks great, by the way. He's lost a ton of weight.
Boy, does he ever.
He looks terrific, but I don't know what it is. Him and Andy have been going back and forth. He's got something in his craw about Pratt, and he could not be more wrong. And if you brought him on right now, I would tell him. Richie Migliori, your character witness, Howard, will tell you that of all the jockeys at Saratoga, which clearly is the best jockey colony in the country right now, as of yesterday, other folks might do individual things better, i.e. Rosario in a turf sprint, perhaps. No one is more complete than Flavien Prat. And we're talking turf, dirt, short, long, you name it. And he had 4 yesterday on closing day at Saratoga. He just has rides. Hey, look, he makes mistakes like everyone else, but his timing is impeccable. The timing that Rosario shows routinely in turf sprints, Prat shows in all races. And I've gotten over my dislike of Rosario. I think he's great. He's a great guy too, by the way. But Prat right now, if you had a race for your life, I am naming him. And I'm talking Irad's great, Jose. Right now, Prat, I think, is elite, as I've said on Twitter several times.
All right. I think that's the last race we're going to cover. Real quick, Howard, any final thoughts from the closing weekend at Saratoga or just in general? Anything you want to throw in, Flightline, anything?
I tweeted this out, sort of a little bit of an oddball, well, not oddball statement, just sort of out of left field. Can we give a shout out to Hector Barrios at Del Mar? I mean, this guy,
Good point,
I would bet this guy, if my life depended on it, at Gulfstream for the last few years. Credit, I don't know what's happened. It's not like he's getting like premier mounts or his like first call for anyone. Shout out to Hector Barrios, who's winning on the turf quite a bit. And if he brings some of that ability and form and some decent mounts to Gulfstream coming up here in the winter meet, he's gonna be a jock I'm gonna use on as a price shot. I just want to give a shout out to Hector Barrios, who I don't know how many wins or where he fits, and there's still one more week, of course, left at Del Mar, which is weird, but they changed the schedule. Shout out to Hector Barrios for a fantastic meet at Del Mar.
Great call. He's bringing home prices too. So if you're still, and the market hasn't corrected with him yet. So I think you could still get him and make some prices. Kyle, any final thoughts on the Saratoga closing? Anything else? Any of the races we talked about?
No, I mean, I'm just kind of sad. I mean, obviously everyone else is sad at Saratoga closing, but I've actually been very blessed to have the best month of my life betting for Saratoga. So cheers to that, Howard. Yeah. So
Kyle, absolutely. I mean, congratulations, man, for all of us. Really, we couldn't be more happy for you. We know this show has helped, of course, your handicapping, and
yes,
listen, not because of me, because these other great minds over this direction. But no, seriously, Kyle, congrats on your month. It's a great feeling to win money betting the ponies. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's not end it because Saratoga's ending. Let's keep it going.
No, right. That's the problem.
Let's keep that going.
But like I said, I'm very blessed to for that to happen this past month, and like I said, looking forward to the future races, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Cool. Paul, any last thoughts on Saratoga? I know you wanted to mention sort of the handle and a couple quick
notes. A couple of notes very quickly. And, again, I'm not being a cheerleader for Saratoga, but the handle, they broke the all-time record handle by 8%, 878 million, 55 on Travis Day. Daily average handle just a smidgen under $22 million. Paid attendance over 1 million. That includes season passes. It's amazing that the popularity just goes and goes. And Kyle, I'll tell you where I'm coming from, Kyle. I had, betting wise, the most frustrating Saratoga meet I've ever had. I think my handicapping was good, not great, but good. I am telling you, a minimum of 24 out of 5s. Howard knows I'm a serial player. And Howard, I'm talking ABC, caveman, hybrid, you name it.
I've been there, buddy. Been there.
Culminating on Friday of closing weekend. I don't know if you followed. I'm sure you were educating the youth of America. But I get the 20-1 shot, Mark Cassie in the sequence, and I can't beat the 2-1 Finger Lake Shipper, who only went 2 deep in the race instead of 3, and the thing comes back 42.50. So, but what I'm getting at, Kyle, is I am deeply saddened to see Saratoga closing. Okay, after a meet like that where I couldn't do anything right, I just I'm almost glad I'm not. I wasn't there. I go the weekend before, as you know, for the Travers, and to walk out I walk out on Sunday after the Travers, and I'm like, oh, we got another week to bet Saratoga. I don't know about walking out on closing day. It's just such a magical place. I had and I'll shut up in a second, but to be there for Johnny V's 1000th and to watch the Robbie Davis Hallelujah win, and then on New York Day to see the Clear Star people win the New York Stakes race and celebrate like it was the Kentucky Derby. It's a place like no other place.
That's
By
awesome.
the way, thank you to Johnny I, Paul, and
Yeah.
welcome Frank Maramati next year.
Absolutely.
All right. And again, real quick, before we sign off, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let us know that you like the podcast and that you want to be a part of it going forward. We really appreciate all the commenters today. We love the participation. It's only good because of you guys mostly. So for myself, Pete Visco, the new Tuesday host, or at least part-time Tuesday host, along with the former, a little bit tipsy host, Howard Kravitz, the prince of formerly known as Arlington, Kyle Roscoe, and Paul Halloran from the Saratoga Special, crying his last time just because Saratoga's ending. Thanks again. This is the HHH Racing Podcast. We'll see you on Thursday.